Come in. You're at the right place.
Yeah, come on in. All right, we are on.
I'm sure. All right.
Good morning.
How are you?
Woke up this morning. So far, so good. That's the best way to start a day.
I'm still checking on that.
I'm being seen and not viewed. So,
It's always good.
What's going on? Yeah.
I'm on your public comment.
All right, showtime. Commissioner Grant, you'll open the meeting for us, please.
It's 10 o'clock on Monday, March 27th, 2023. I make a motion that special meeting of the Navarro County Commissioners Court come to order. Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Grant, seconded by Commissioner Perry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And we are ready to go into session. First, we'll have opening prayer. I'd ask Commissioner Brewer to please lead us in prayer today. Everybody, please stand.
Dear Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for life itself and all the blessings that you give us. Thank you for our county. We thank you for all of our citizens. Father, we just pray that you help us to be mindful of what's in our best interest today. Lead and guide us in any decision that we make. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Please join me for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. Ma'am. Hartley? You want to talk to us?
I'll talk for a minute, yeah. Maybe a little late on this subject, but there's something going on in our county which is to me no less than disgusting. And that's with all these plats that are being approved for 1 acre home lots, and there's not much to them, and they're gonna be a problem for all. I believe you could poll every landowner in the county and then wouldn't find many that would be in favor of what's happening out here. And my point is, what we need to look into what we can do to restrict some of these things, make them suitable in case the county has to take them over, or whoever, or prevent them from just being an eyesore, a detriment to other people. They're not much that I've seen is good about them, and I'd like to know how y'all feel about it. I know that we've been reluctant because of they're in the county, they don't have as many restrictions as municipalities do, but there are some, and it's changing all the time, and I would hope that we could get behind it and do all we can to make them nicer. I've got one or two pictures of them. I'm sure y'all all seen what the outcome of some of them have been, and it's not good. And I think we need to get with our state agencies or whatever we can do to see what we can do. You know, you look at other counties, they seem to be ahead of us in this regard, and that's my feeling about it. I guess that's my concern and my statement about it. I'd like to kind of hear what y'all think.
Well, we normally don't address people, but I will, and I'll allow any of the guys that want to also speak up. They may do so. One of the things that we try to do is to get landowners who are making or doing plots of land and dividing it up to do deed restrictions on it, so it doesn't become a mess. But we can't make them do that. We can only suggest it. Okay. The state of Texas only gives us certain powers to do anything. Okay. And we can't exceed them unless we want a lawsuit to have to fight. So, but anyway, that's where we are. Anybody else?
I couldn't agree with you more. This last week, this issue's been going on for a while now. We all know that, and it's been getting out of hand, you know, and it started on my end of the county first, because I'm close to Dallas, and it's coming this way, where all these family farms have been bought, divided, you know, acre tracts and all this, and they are eyesores. And like the judge said, there's only so much that we can do. But also with some of these, you know, you have livestock that's loose, which is a dangerous, you know, on the road. It increases that increases the amount of traffic on our road tremendously. You go from a road that had 10 cars a day, now it's got 200 cars a day, which makes our job hard as far as keeping the roads up. But there's only so much that we can do. But I did talk to our TAC representative, and actually two different ones. They seem to think that Navarro County was in a different spot than most counties are, because one of the borders of our county is a body of water. And if you have a body of water that is the border of part of your county, you have some things that you can do that other counties cannot do. And I said, are you talking about just around the lake, or are you talking about countywide? They weren't 100% sure on that, but they were going to research it to find out. And I'm not for trying to trample on anybody's property rights. Certainly, you know, property rights are king in Texas, and I'm not trying to change that. But if we do have anything that we can impose or suggest or ask for and enforce, I at least want to know what they are and how far we can go with it, because not everybody comes in. You know, we got a lot of responsible developers that come in here with strict guidelines, and they do a great job. Some of those areas have improved, especially on the roads that they put into these communities. But some come in, and you've seen it. You know, it looks like a third world country. And I at least want to be able to do something about that if it's a safety issue, or you know, if they've got something maybe running into the waterway, whatever there is that we can enforce. I want to enforce it. I want to know what it is. And right now that's kind of hazy. We don't know. But I'm waiting on this guy from TAC to call me back and let me know what we can do, so we can, you know, start combating it better than what we have been. And I appreciate you coming.
Yeah, and I pretty much agree with Jason and the judge. You know, most of my thing is on the lake. We have that same problem, but not as much as some of the other commissioners had. But I would like to see the county cleaned up, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, we had one an application for a replat. And it didn't have deed restrictions. And we discussed this at length for maybe 10 minutes with the developer or more, going back and forth. And finally, she agreed to deed restrictions. So, we can't make them do anything. Because we're not an HO, when some people's, a certain project happens or something in the county, says, why didn't you stop them? I said, we're not an HOA. We can't make anybody do anything with their own personal property. We can't stop a Bitcoin factory from coming in, or windmills, or anything else. That's the property owners, that's what they do. But when a property owner does subdivide, and like Jason said, there's so many places around here that did not have deed restrictions in years past. And that's kind of the learning curve that I came into office with, watching things that happened. We can just talk them into getting deed restrictions through different ways. But that's my deal. I'm tired of looking at the county as a third world country. And you go down here and you'll have a really, really, really nice house next to a 20-year-old RV where they're pinning goats with some sheet metal and some pallets and two old pickups on block with the hoods off of it, and so that's kind of what we're talking about, is trying to get this thing going in the right direction and keep these things from happening like they have been for the last 20 years. But I'm doing all I can to get deed restrictions. But here in the same breath, we're not an HOA. And before you give the HOA powers to a governing body, be careful, because that's a slippery slope. And I kind of laughed and I said, they may vote you out of the county. So anyway, that's my spin on it.
I visited with David. I gave him a copy of this ordinance that we passed in 1988. And there are some things in here that we could do pertaining to this, to plats, I think. If you mind, I'd suggest that we look this over good. We talk with our state reps and whatnot, and get their people to. I pull them up on my phone and the whole regulation, and so dang, I just couldn't read it all because of the print, but it's long and things are changing in regard to this stuff, due to the population, I guess, and there are things you can't do with your land. I don't care what you think you can do. There's certain things you can't do. And all that's changing now due to government regs and stuff like that. But this is what I hope we'll get into, and I intend to do some more research. But, for instance, you can't buy one of those lots and make it a landfill for all your neighbors. It's against the rule. You can't tell somebody they can't have a satellite receiver or something anymore, or in other words, getting closer to where we can have a nicer project going on, and I think it is. And it seems like other places are doing better than we are, like in Henderson and Anderson and Ellis. Those counties are apparently doing more screening requirements than we are, and nicer screening requirements. Some of ours are just as bad as looking at this stuff. So, yeah, that's what I stand on it. And I'm gonna try to do more. I've got a friend that's a rep from the Killeen area. His son's been sick, so he hasn't been able to get me the information I want. But I think I can. And maybe bring it back with me. But let me point out one thing. I know y'all are recently familiar with this platted and Bazette. I drive by it a lot. This guy has run 3 drainage ditches out into the county drainage ditch. from his property. This is the sort of thing that they're gonna take advantage of every daggum thing they can get by with if we don't stay on top of it. That shouldn't happen. That can be a problem right there.
The only thing I'd add, and I want to thank you, Mr. Young, for coming in and bringing this up with us. And I agree with what the other commissioners and what the judge has said. The only thing I would add too, we've got 5 different replats that we're going to consider today in the commissioners court. And I know 4 of those we've sent back and those people have come back with voluntary deed restrictions
Okay.
that have made it's going to make our job easier in making a decision.
It
on
could,
that.
it could.
And they've done that voluntarily. and
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
It could. It might not.
Well, the one final thing I'll say about it is, it's an absolute shame that people don't take pride in their property. You can go out and look at my 50 acres and it looks like a country club, except it's got cows walking around on it, but
Yeah,
I mean, it looks nice. And I'm happy it's that way. And my neighbors at Corbett area, they're the same way. They're all of them,
Sure they
for
are.
the most part. But they've got pride in their property. And I think that's, something that certainly amongst some folks, they don't care, or that's the way they live.
yeah.
And they don't care about the roads. My crews went down a Love Bridge Road, picked up 12 mattresses, 9 couches and recliners
Yeah.
Thursday, and took 3 loads of trash to the dump.
Yeah.
That we shouldn't even be thinking about that. It takes away from their job on the roads, and it takes away from what their original purpose is, just to pick up trash. And it falls under the same guys that property owners, they don't have, like you said, they don't have any respect for their own stuff, and they don't have any respect for anybody else's. And
One
so,
other item, if you don't mind, I'll get off of this, but apparently there's one county in Texas that is taking this further than anybody else. They're requiring a certain age for dwelling, a certain condition and the normal setup procedures and for those type of houses and so forth. And apparently also they're making the setup be done by a professional. In other words, someone who does it, not, don't just go buy a 20 or 30-year-old home and stick it in there anyway. This is a problem. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you coming and saying something.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
And if you want to leave, you need to leave, go, you can go ahead and go. That'll be fine. We're gonna continue on.
I won't sit in on-
All right. All right. Hartley was the only one who signed up, so we'll move on to our consent agenda, item 5 and 6. And if we need to pull off anything on those 2 that needs to be discussed, we can do so. But if not, I'd ask just for a motion to approve the consent agenda as a whole.
Make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as a whole, items 5 and 6.
second,
Motion made by Commissioner Brewer, seconded by Commissioner Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to our regular agenda. First up is consideration of burn ban. Everything green.
if
Right
it ain't
now,
wet-
anyway.
If it ain't wet, it's green.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't think anything will burn, so no action, correct? No action.
That was from Ellis.
Number 8 is consideration of approving the sale of fireworks for San Jacinto Day, April 21st of 2023. Any discussion on this, gentlemen? If not, I'd ask for a motion, please.
And I'll make a motion of approving the sale of fireworks for San Jacinto Day, April 21st, 2023.
Second.
All in favor, please, motion made by Commissioner Perry, seconded by Commissioner Grant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is consideration of approving a resolution for historic downtown reinvestment tax credit. Mr. John Boswell.
Thank you. This is your annual reinvestment tax credit piece this year with 23 applications. This tax credit is available to businesses in the downtown historic property tax zone. There were, over $147,000 worth of investments. The credits total up for the county this year of $12,081.02. City of Corsicana approved their tax credit $15,000 last. I reviewed all of these. I think there were 26 applications from the 23 qualified. You have a tax.
Cool. All right, so any discussion, gentlemen, questions? If not, I'd ask for a motion, please.
I make a motion that we approve a resolution for the historic downtown reinvestment tax credits.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Grant, seconded by Commissioner Perry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 10 is consideration of approving a resolution and tax abatement for Corsicana Revitalization District CDRD 5-year tax freeze for SYFH LLC.
Thank you. I think the cover sheet is wrong, but what you have in the packet is correct. The agreement. This is the 5-year tax freeze for Reserve SIMEC, SYFH LLC at 112 West Collins Street. Did that over $50,000 worth of investments, and so council has already approved, the city council has already approved it about a month ago.
Any discussion or questions? Gentlemen? If not, I'd ask for a motion, please.
I move that we approve a resolution and tax abatement for Corsicana Revitalization District CDRD 5-year tax freeze for SYFH LLC.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Moore, seconded by Commissioner Brewer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 11 is consideration of approving a final plat of Tupelo acres for Norman and Addison Lake.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, sir.
This is a, what, 40-acre tract, about 12 lots within that tract. The developer is here today to answer questions that need them. There are these restrictions included in this packet. The styling of the property meets all the state and local regulations of septic systems. And our subdivision regulations exist. Right there, also think that, asking the commission for approval for subdivision.
Okay, gentlemen, any questions or?
I thought those deed restrictions were excellent. I'm just kind of questioning the livestock things, that 0.77 dry cows can be in there. So I never saw 7/10 of a cow, and I'm just joking about that. It was very good. And I like having the restriction on livestock, so you don't have so many. But that was, and I know you did percentages on that, but I just never saw 7 or 3/4 of a cow before out there on the place.
Okay, I see.
We have
It was for that
1.2
size.
bulls.
Well, it's for that size.
Right,
And
right.
per acre and things, so it just.
Yeah, it was the calculations and the percentages.
I think we found it off of A&M website for doing.
Oh, that tells you, yeah.
A lot about it for just how to do stocking ratio.
Yeah.
It talks about stocking units or animal units, so one unit is different per animal.
Right.
Not just, for one goat, it's not the same as one cow
Right.
when it comes down to that.
This is a pretty simple one.
And, this is, it's in mine, and I know that, we had y'all come last time, and y'all went back and did these deed restrictions, and I appreciate it. They look good.
Y'all didn't have
We
the
had
papers.
it, y'all just didn't have the papers.
This is one
Right.
of the confusion. We showed it on the agenda, but it just wasn't packaged with.
Right.
Yeah.
What I would like to do on this is I'm waiting to hear back from the guy, we all heard me talking earlier, from the guy from TAC. The reason I say that is because y'all's deed restrictions are excellent. One thing that we have that we didn't say, we didn't bring up earlier. For instance, if someone came in here and had a 20 acre. And 20 acres, and they were divided up amongst their family, and they came in here with these deed restrictions and said, this is what we're gonna do. And 3 months later, her son says, I'm moving an RV in there and I'm gonna start a pig farm. And she says, okay, go ahead. But we don't have any teeth to go in there and say, well, wait a minute. You put these restrictions, we don't have no way to enforce those. Not saying y'all would do that. I'm just saying, that's the word I'm waiting to hear back from the TAC guy. Before I personally approve any more plats. I'm not gonna approve any more on it for anybody till I hear back from that guy. And because I want to make sure that I'm not letting something slip by. And this is not, I'm not using y'all as an example. Y'all aren't the people I'm talking about. But I can't very well do it for you and then the next one down the road here not do it for them. You see what I'm saying? I don't know how time sensitive this is, but if you could give me about a week. I told the guy I'd really like to hear from him this week, and he said that he would do his best to get back to me. If this isn't a real time sensitive issue.
Preferably, we prefer it sooner than later.
Sure.
Is part of it is, we're obviously trying to sell some property.
Right.
With that in mind, we've got property to deny. And that is all a time sensitive deal.
Right.
So
I
the sooner
understand.
we can start doing that, the sooner we can make an additional purchase.
I understand. And I know y'all been here twice and I apologize. I just gotta do what I think's right. I think y'all did a great job here and I wouldn't have any problem approving it at all. But I would like to hear back from the tax rep before I do. If y'all could give me a week, which probably be 2 weeks for y'all because that's when the next agenda would be, but I would like to hear back from that guy.
And with that, you're saying that you're trying to figure out what enforcement y'all have
That's correct. It's exactly right.
for the restrictions that are made.
It's exactly right.
What
Because-
does that look like? Just out of curiosity, what does that look like enforcement wise? I mean, is that saying that?
Well, like if it's, if a developer comes in there with these restrictions, he's accountable.
Yeah.
We can hold him accountable. If an individual, like the example I just gave.
Yeah.
We can't. If she changes her mind and lets her son come in there and do whatever he wants to, we don't have no teeth to go in there and do anything about it. See what I mean? If we do have teeth, I want to know what they are and when we can use them. Like I said, I'm not trying to use y'all as an example because this is great. But I can't do it for y'all and then go down here farther and not do it for someone else. So if you could just give me a week or so. I mean, and they may vote to go ahead and do that and y'all can do it right now, but I would prefer to table it right now.
I mean, regardless of approving it or tabling it, your teeth are gonna be the same, correct?
I don't know. I won't know that till I hear back from this
But I
guy.
mean, they're gonna tell you whether you do have teeth or not, whether it's approved right now or they'll push it for 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
But yeah, or they may have a suggestion that I include that's not in here. I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure I'm doing what's fair to everyone. Nothing against y'all at all. I mean, I think this is wonderful. Y'all just happen to be the first one on the list.
Yeah. And I'm not disagreeing, I'm just asking questions, so I
Yes, sir.
understand.
Yes, sir. So I'd like to table this unless y'all want to.
Make a motion.
I make a motion that we table number 11.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Grant at the table, seconded by Commissioner Perry. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
So I have a question. Are we gonna table the rest of these pending on?
I'm gonna table any that's in mine.
That's the next 4. Me and you,
No, this
Next
is
one's
not-
3,
that's me. That's
and
what's
then the
in
next,
him.
next one is you, and the next 3 or something.
Okay, item number 12 is up next. That's consideration of approving the final plat of the village at Pine Tree Valley for Estela Hernandez.
Yes, and this is one of us that's been tabled twice already. They did provide the deed restrictions that they were asked to provide last meeting. That is in your packet. I actually put another copy of those this morning on there that she sent me to an email, just in case the version had changed from Bill. I sent you. She has the second, what she's going to adopt as deed restrictions and it again, it meets the state and local regulations for subdivisions and the county regulations for septic systems, and they're asking for approval.
Well, I can appreciate her going back and writing some deed restrictions, but, I would like to get the email back from from Commissioner Grant to see what kind of teeth the county has in enforcing the developer, even if it's family members, to enforcing these deed restrictions. So I move that we table this until we get the information back on the authority of the county.
Motion to table has been made by Commissioner Moore. We need a second.
Second.
Thought everybody was gonna speak up for a minute. I think Mr. Commissioner Brewer probably beat you to it just by a hair. All in favor of tabling, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 13 is consideration of approving a final plat of KB Acres for K. Can't say it last name. Anyway, is K here? Apparently not. Okay. And whose precinct is this in?
Mine,
Yours?
and I'm gonna ask that we table it as well.
Okay. You made a motion, is that correct?
I make a motion, we table number 13.
Thank you, sir.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Grant, seconded by Commissioner Perry. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 14 is consideration of approving a final plat of Grace Prairie for Richland Creek Cattle Company. Whose precinct is this?
They're asking for approval that does meet state and local regulations, for subdivisions and septic system versus for county and state. They're asking for commission's approval.
I'll make a motion that we table number 14.
Second.
Was that in precinct 1 or?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion made by Commissioner Grant, seconded by Commissioner Moore. All in favor of tabling, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 15 is consideration of approving final replat of Sunrise Phase 2, Lot 14 for Paul and Billy Hicks.
This is, replat of, tract 14, which would create 14B-1 and 14B-2. 1.599 acres would be cut out of a 10-acre tract, basically. They're wishing to have that replat approved by Commissioner Ford. It does meet state and local regulations for subdivisions and the septic system regulations for local and state. This is a replat. This is not a subdivision.
Strange looking replat.
Yeah, but
Not a.
a replat, you cannot impose deed restrictions beyond what the developer has already imposed.
Whose precinct is this in?
That's mine.
Yours too. Okay.
So the part that they're cutting out here is on this, northwest of 0145.
Yes,
I'll make a motion that we approve a final replat of Sunrise Phase 2, Lot 14 for Paul and Billy Hicks.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Grant, seconded by Commissioner Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
thank you, Jerry.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Stanley. Number 16 is consideration of approving the revised business service order between Vive Broadband and Navarro County.
Judge Tiffany is supposed to be in on this, and she has to be pass it for, the rest of them. Hopefully she'll be by then.
Okay, we'll just pass it for right now. Y'all remind me. Okay. All right, number 17 is consideration of approving demolition bids from construction project manager. And he is currently standing at the podium.
Well, we received 2 bids in. And one was 170, 125. And the second one was 104, 533.
And this is for,
The demolition of the old schoolhouse in the White House.
wow,
And what were the numbers again, please?
170, 125.
Okay,
And the second bid was 104, 533. That's the difference of $65,592.
goodness.
Which rose the question, were they gonna hit us with change orders and, fees at the end? I reached out to the references and they had.
Good.
And they would highly recommend it.
Good. When can they start?
So we're gonna be,
Okay. I know we've been waiting on it for about 10 years, so,
Yeah.
something like that, close to it.
415.
All right, discussion, gentlemen, anybody? If not, I'd ask for a motion to pick one.
Let me discuss with this. The companies that have bid on the demolition, do you have a preference on either one?
One is a local guy and the other one is Precision Demolition. They got that out of Dallas.
Okay, which one is the lowest bid? The one on the lowest bid. That's
well, I can tell you,
interesting.
about a year ago, maybe not so a year ago. Just out of the blue, I called Dallas Demolition. He said, I've got property in Frost. No problem. I'll come look at it. It's 23,000 to tear down the school. And he said, you can plant a garden there when I'm done. I just kind of. That's before you came into it. We didn't have, it wasn't ready to be demoed. It still had stuff in it and stuff that. It's just makes me wonder sometimes
What do you
as
want
a
to
taxpayer.
put it back out?
Wouldn't hurt.
Sure.
Wouldn't hurt. I mean, those big differences. you
Yeah,
know.
that's what
Yeah.
Rose questioned me.
Mhm.
Why such a big?
Yeah.
I just Googled it on the web, found a number in Dallas and called it. I didn't. I didn't know it was a matter.
Tyler Henry, who I was talking to. But didn't have a bid in by. Yeah.
Well, I think it would be a good idea, gentlemen, if y'all
Put that in.
in favor to do it again. I mean, yeah.
I'll make the motion that we resubmit the bids for the demolition. The demolition of the old schoolhouse and the White House across the street.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Brewer, seconded by Commissioner Moore to put this back out for bids again. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right, number 18 is consideration of approving a right-of-way easement for Good Alta Power Center LLC on Southeast County Road 4060 in precinct 2.
Yes, this is a future project that's possibly coming. We're wanting to make sure that we can give an easement. I went out there this morning, as a matter of fact, and there's plenty of room for whatever they're wanting to do. With that being said, I'll make a motion of approving a right-of-way easement for Good Alta Power LLC on Southeast 4060 of precinct 2.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Perry, seconded by Commissioner Grant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 19 is consideration of approving the purchase of a flatbed equipment trailer for precinct 4.
I found out that we currently do not have a trailer that's capable of carrying our big culverts when we need to transport them. And in the past, they have been borrowing trailers to do that, which is not a good practice. Also, in talking with, my foreman, every time we have to go to a job site with a backhoe, we're driving that backhoe there. We had a site last week that required almost 14 miles one way to take the backhoe and to come back.
Not good
So,
backhoes.
Yeah,
They're not designed for that.
No.
If you'll
and
destroy a transmission. put
and
one on
so-
the highway.
I went back and looked at I've got a new computer program that shows your hours and your working hours, and it breaks it all down on your backhoe. We got a new backhoe last fall. And it has spent about 3 times as much time on the road as it has actually working, doing jobs at job sites. So this equipment trailer would be also capable of transporting our backhoes and maybe some of our other equipment. It's not of the cost of it, even if we purchase a new one, is not gonna be over the limit that we have to get bids on it, but I did call 3 different manufacturers. And I've got bids everywhere from 22,275 to 16,850 on a new trailer. We're gonna keep looking, but I would like to have permission. I got plenty in my equipment budget. Also, we're gonna make enough money on all this old salvage equipment. That's gonna be coming in to pay for it as well.
Good.
So I make a motion that we approve the purchase of a flatbed equipment trailer for precinct 4.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Brewer, seconded by Commissioner Moore. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 20, consideration of approving a purchase request for Texoma Hida with Heights Draperies, Inc.
This is for their new building, it's just a portion of it. I think they're gonna install 105 for 42,850.
That's not our money, okay? Just to let you know, we're kind of the bookkeeper for this Texoma Hida. And so they have us do the motions and, approve this, that, and the other. And anyway,
That's a lot of lines.
yeah, sure is. But anyway, so we need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approving a purchase request for Texoma Hida with Couch Draperies Incorporated.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Perry, seconded by Commissioner Brewer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 21 is consideration of approving to pay bills for Road and Bridge Precinct 3 without purchase order on March 27 of 2023.
Just another coupon on my part. I move that we approve to pay bills for Bridge and Road Precinct 3 without purchase orders on March 27, 2023.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Moore, seconded by Commissioner Grant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 22 is executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code Section 551.078 to discuss economic development.
Judge, go ahead and go back to 16 and I'll explain the best I can.
Oh.
Gotta go into vibe again.
Well,
Revive.
Revive.
The business service order. She texted me what the difference is. Do you need to read the statement?
So we need to approve this today so we
Yes.
can change our telephones out.
Right.
That'd be a good idea.
You approved the main thing or the contract last time.
Yeah.
But, the only reason they're resubmitting this is because it went up on the monthly fee went up a little bit because she added, you know. She said added 55 phones and 7 fax lines for the sheriff office. So that's the only difference.
I have a question there. Is that changing out our service at the sheriff's office? Because we're completely different than there's some, let's see, there's some security issues and there's some other things that come into play. I think Brett Latta mentioned that the other day. He didn't tell me, maybe you guys, that you can't just change out our service.
Now, I know when Gail asked her that, when we approved this one, she said no. So
Don't know.
I'm just saying what, because Gail did ask her that.
Yeah.
And she said
I
no.
remember
So,
that.
Because if it affects our 911 system.
First I've heard of any of this.
Yeah, I know.
All that is recorded. When you take a 911 phone call, it's recorded because you have to go back.
Right, I do know that Gail asked her that, and she said no.
If what was, the new, I can't remember the new phone system, but if what was given to me to look at, they did verify that we'll be fine with our
Yeah,
contract.
it's not to interfere with any of that.
We'll just, it's just a change we'll have to do on our end, but it'll work.
There she is.
Issue,
There's your question.
Okay, dope.
ask.
All right, Tiff, we needed, our concern here is, does this affect the sheriff's department's phones and servers
Bye.
or anything? Vibe?
No servers, no nothing. It's all, it's the same thing that we've already talked about. The
Uh-huh.
only difference is we didn't include the count of numbers correctly.
Oh,
We added all of the sheriff's office in the fax lines.
okay,
It wasn't in the original proposal.
okay.
So not to keep, saying things, but I am in charge of that facility over there, last I checked. And this does involve that facility, and if there's a wholesale transition to something else, I would assume that I would be notified and have an opportunity to research or weigh in on whatever that is. Now, that's an assumption on my part, but I know we got a dedicated phone room over there, and there's a whole lot of logistics that I'm not aware of, and she may be 100% aware of all of it, but I'm not. And my go-to person, even though he's no longer employed with the sheriff's office, he's still a part of emergency management, is Brett Latta. And I hope I don't speak out of turn, but he had some concern with this. I don't know what it was, because I didn't speak directly with him, but I think he voiced it to them the other day, and I don't know what that is. But again, when you're not in the loop, you don't know anything about it.
I can tell you what Brett's concerns were, because I've been in contact with Brett through this.
My concern is I didn't know anything about it. I wouldn't come to your precinct barn and change out the way you do business without you knowing something about it. I feel like I should have been in the loop, but if there's no issue, then there's no issue.
Yeah, that's why the count had to change. I didn't realize they had to be on our system. The original plan was to let them stay on the old Avaya, but we couldn't do that.
One,
The software and because of the networking, it just wasn't probable.
how will this change their operations?
It won't change it at all. They're just gonna have new phones. There's no new numbers. Brett's concern was that we might have to change their switch out because they're a recording side and we're not, so their switches are a little different. And so we were gonna look at those, but other than that, nothing will change. Nothing.
So you're saying those phones that y'all have signed up for now, they just plug and play, you know, plug up our phones?
It's not an iPhone, no.
I mean, they just plug in just like they'll buy.
Yes, it's gonna be on my network, just like the other ones.
They're all VoIP type phones, so.
It's all switch over. Now, the other concern was, and I don't know it might concern her, was the Office of Emergency Management. just found out they're gonna have to set up for the call center if, in case of an emergency. Well, before, like with COVID, we provided that.
Okay.
The county did, my IP addresses provided that, but if they're coming in, that actually cuts that out of on us, which isn't an issue for us. It won't even affect anything.
Do we need to get new phones at the barn?
You-
Just a question. Which the sheriff brings up. Do we get new phones at the shops, at the yards for the county?
Those aren't on our network. These are
Okay.
just network.
That's my
phones.
question.
My concern is if it's just unplug a phone, plug a phone in,
Yep.
and it goes to work, so be it. But I don't know, and that's something that I feel like from our standpoint needs to be researched. There's recording, there's COG, there's a lot of different little old things that are applied in that over there that are completely opposite of this over here. And it's, number one, it's recording, it's compliance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that, go into that over there, and I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, that's all on your side
Yeah,
though.
up front, I know nothing about that. My subject matter expert is Brett Lara. And so from my standpoint, I'd like for Melanie as a communications person, Gail, whoever, the chief or myself to be able to have an opportunity to speak to Brett Lara and say, I don't doubt what this young lady's saying, but Brett was law enforcement and he understands every aspect of all that. I don't want us to get into some crossfire and get the county in an issue over this situation. Simply asking for, and again, if I'd have known it up front, that would already happen and then we'd be prepared today to say no harm, no foul, but that's where I stand. If my thought matters.
This is only for the sheriff's department, correct?
No, that's the updated,
The
yes.
update.
It was just adding their numbers in because they weren't added in initially. I didn't realize they all had to stay together, that I was providing their service. I didn't know that.
Okay, but we've already signed a contract,
Yes,
right?
this contract's already
So
been
it's already
signed. This
been
is
done.
just amending the numbers.
Well, can we,
Well, there you go.
put this off till after we get through the end of this meeting at least? And come back after our executive session or something, give them time to talk to Brett?
I think what she's saying is you already signed a contract. It's
This is
a
just
new point.
amending the monthly number.
Well, I still like to know what he said.
Me too.
Well, yeah, that
I'd
is-
like to be in front of
But I'm just saying this paper isn't saying whether yes or no, that's already been done. This is just telling you, letting you know that the monthly payment's going up. But yeah, that all needs to be. You know,
Too late for me.
well, I can still readjust them. or it should be.
Well, you don't have the new phones yet. So you still working on the old system, so it gives us,
If you're not going to be able to keep it. And that's what I think I'm hearing you say.
I'm pulling all of our stuff out of that phone room, out of his phone room.
okay,
Anything that I need to work on is coming out of that phone room.
Okay.
And so it's gonna be a breakdown.
Is there a reason why this had to be separated? I guess that's the part we didn't know anything about it, so.
Why it's coming out?
Why? are
It's
we
going to the
separating?
annex where the, wait, what thing
Okay,
separated?
why is the sheriff's department having to change? You said something about ours and theirs and.
No, okay, so what it is we're all on the same server. Except when it comes out, it goes to two different switches. One's the county, one's the sheriff's office, and that's all gonna be the same. It's just gonna be a different service.
The last conversation I had with Brett is the question that he had, I called and got it answered. And that was about the recording. I
Right,
gave the
that's all
exact
staying the same.
Model that he gave me, that was the only concern that I know that he had. But I share the sheriff's concern when you start talking about changing out every phone in the sheriff's office. That should have been told to us, we're not sitting here now telling us it's happening.
Why wouldn't we be? That's the question. Again, I say to you, each and every one of you gentlemen hold a specific role within county government. And you know what your expectations are for your title and for the arena that you are in control of. why wouldn't I be notified? Why wouldn't I have an opportunity to weigh in? That's the question. And if it hasn't created an issue, then maybe we shouldn't be having this conversation. But I still say,
Well, your
my
IT.
guy has a concern.
Your IT department was notified and it's been on the agenda several times.
I don't pay attention to other people's portions of the agenda, and the IT guy is not running the sheriff's office.
Oh, I understand that, but IT.
I wouldn't speak to your employee about something that is pertinent to your specific role and your title. And I'm not mad. I'm just simply saying, business is business. If I know about that, it would have been researched before this meeting right now, because now is not the proper time to be having this discussion. Agreed?
Well, I mean, I didn't know you weren't notified, but no, I can see your concern.
I mean, all I'm saying is if the contract's already signed, then it's the cattle done got out of the corral. There's no reason for me to have a concern other than to say, if we wind up having an issue, I'm gonna let you folks know it.
Did you say that Brett's concern was addressed?
The concern that he shared with me was addressed, and I cannot say that that was all of his concerns. I barely knew, and he asked me just to check when he found out what phone it was. He asked me to follow up with the recording company to make sure that they would, because, you know, we just had to add an extra line onto ours, so we just spent more money on the Ayala phone system, and we wanted to make sure that we weren't messing something up, and they said that they could work with us, but I don't know what his other concerns are. I just heard about this last week.
Well, I think we can put this off. Our biggest deal on doing all this, Sheriff, was the phone problems we have here in this building. And so, getting new lines and everything put in and removing whatever that was across the street with you guys, getting it over here where it's all, this one's different from what y'all's is, was our intent, if you will, because of the problems we're having with phones here. Sometimes they won't work. You just have to unplug them and then wait, or I've got to do here in just a minute, a hearing that I'll do on the phone. Sometimes you can't hear what's going on it, and you have to start over on the conference call type deal to do the hearings. And so it's just gotten so that we can't depend on what we've got. And I assume what we've got, same thing what you got. I'm assuming.
The difference is, we're not experiencing a problem, and I understand, and I agree with you 100%. If your system over here is not working, you gotta address it.
You gotta
I
fix it.
understand.
So,
And again, if this is a better system or whatever the case may be, so be it. This is not, I'm not, against it. I'm simply saying that ours is a completely different spectrum over there. We live in a different world across that street over there. Everything we do is recorded. We're linked to, we're linked to 911. We're linked to a lot of stuff, and we have experienced it firsthand. You can't just go in there and start, doing this or doing that, and because there's always a repercussion to it. And all I'm saying is, we can't have, we can't have it transition to that and then it knock out a service or something's not recorded or whatever, and then we find out after the fact, and we got to scramble to try to figure out how to fix it. Maybe it's not fixable.
And I think where the sheriff's coming from, that those calls that we get, sometimes life threatening or saving calls, and you don't want to be in the middle of 911 calls, somebody needs your help, and it is goes daily.
sure. My recommendation is we table this. Need a motion, please.
I'll make a motion that we table number 16.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Grant, seconded by Commissioner Brewer. All in favor, please say aye. And any opposed, motion carries. So that's done. Let's set it aside and figure out what we need to figure out. All right, I've already made the statement on the executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code 551.087 to discuss economic development. Gentlemen, I need a motion to go into that executive session, please.
It is 10:57. I move that we go into executive session pursuant to the Texas Government Code, section 551.087, to discuss economic development.
Motion made by Commissioner Moore, seconded by Commissioner Grant. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And we are in session. Thank y'all for coming. Hey, John.
I speak to you.
They weren't late, they were early. It was the appearance that I was like.
Guys,